All right, buckle up, because today we're taking a deep dive into some seriously strange research on Beelzebub.
Beelzebub,
You know?
Lord of the Flies.
Yeah, the Lord of the Flies. That guy, someone's actually using hypnosis to try to understand this ancient figure, and we've got the transcripts to unpack.
It's a very unconventional approach, I'd say, using hypnosis to delve into historical and metaphysical aspects. And we're going to be working with excerpts from a YouTube video showcasing this.
Right.
I'm very interested to see what insights it might offer.
So we've got the transcript from the hypnosis session itself.
Okay.
And then a follow-up analysis by the hypnotist Clarigiro Grafasi.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get into the nitty-gritty,
Sure.
I have to ask,
Yeah.
how reliable is this whole hypnosis thing? Are we talking hard evidence or more like, mystical speculation?
Well, Grafasi claims to use a specific method that he's developed to access the subject's subconscious.
Okay.
The idea being that there's information buried there that we can't normally tap into. It's a little bit like the tip of the iceberg analogy. Yeah. Our conscious mind is just the surface.
Okay. I'm following you. But
yeah.
Isn't there a risk of, supplanting ideas or influencing what the subject remembers?
Absolutely. That's a very valid concern.
Yeah.
Memory under hypnosis is a complex thing.
Right.
And it can be influenced by suggestion or even the subject's own pre-existing beliefs.
Yeah.
So yes.
Okay.
A healthy dose of skepticism is always warranted.
Got it. So let's keep that in mind as we go. So tell me, what exactly did Severio the subject experience under hypnosis? What did he see when they asked him about Beelzebub?
He described a scene with a black polished marble wall covered in inscriptions, giving off a very cold feeling.
Okay.
Then he saw this humanoid figure, but also kind of like a hologram, flickering in and out. Huh. And there are also these religious figures huddled in a closed space, seemingly discussing plans.
So black wall, hologram humanoid. That's giving me some serious, Indiana Jones vibes. Any thoughts on what these visuals might represent?
It's definitely evocative imagery.
Yeah.
The black wall, especially.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the veil in ancient mystery traditions.
Okay.
Symbolizing the barrier between the mundane world and hidden knowledge. Maybe it's suggesting that Beelzebub acted as a gatekeeper of sorts.
Ooh, I like that. A gatekeeper to forbidden knowledge?
Yeah.
And the humanoid hologram. Could that be Beelzebub himself?
Potentially.
Yeah.
It's interesting that he describes it as both humanoid and holographic.
Right.
That could point to Beelzebub existing as a being on a different plane, maybe even a higher dimension.
Okay.
Not fully constrained by our physical laws.
Okay, this is already blowing my mind.
Right.
And what about those religious figures making plans? Any historical context there?
Well, Beelzebub was worshipped by the Philistines, who were often at odds with the Israelites.
Yeah.
So if we connect this image to the historical narrative, those figures could represent the Philistine priesthood strategizing against their enemies.
Ah, so maybe we're seeing a glimpse into the political machinations of the time, but with this supernatural twist.
Exactly. It's like a historical drama with an extra layer of intrigue.
I like it.
Now, things take an even stranger turn when they ask Severio to decode the DNA of Beelzebub.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, this is metaphorical.
Right.
But it seems like they're pushing him to get to the core essence of this being.
Right. It's not like they're going to whip out a DNA sequencer in the middle of a hypnosis session.
Right. Exactly.
But what comes out of this decoding?
Severio initially describes a void shell in the DNA.
Okay.
Like something's missing or incomplete. Then he shifts gears and starts describing Beelzebub as a real physical entity, but with a caveat.
A caveat. You've got me on the edge of my seat.
He emphasizes that there's more to Beelzebub than just a physical form.
Yeah.
It's like there's a deeper, more complex reality underlying this being, something that defies easy categorization.
Okay, so we're dealing with layers here.
Yes.
It's not just a deity. It's not just a force. It's something.
Yeah.
Other.
Right.
I'm definitely sensing some Lovecraftian vibes now.
Yeah.
Well, let's get back to the Philistines.
Sure.
What else did Severio reveal about their connection to Beelzebub?
He describes a scene with a statue being paraded through a cheering, almost aggressive crowd.
Okay.
This takes place near a flat-topped pyramid.
Okay.
And the statue itself, well, that's where things get a bit murky.
Murky how? What kind of statue are we talking about?
Severio struggles to describe it clearly.
Okay.
He mentions a a horse, maybe even a hybrid of the two.
Okay.
The imagery seems to blend together,
Yeah.
but the feeling of intensity,
Yeah.
of almost frenzied devotion from the crowd
Yeah.
comes through very strongly.
Wow, so imagine this. A massive crowd whipped into a frenzy worshiping this bull horse thing in front of a pyramid. It's like ancient religious fervor meets a psychedelic rock concert. What do you make of that imagery?
It's a fascinating blend of cultural symbolism and potentially Saverio's own subconscious interpretations. The bull, of course, is often associated with strength, virility, and even a connection to the earth. The horse, on the other hand, can symbolize power, freedom, and swiftness.
Right.
Combining them could suggest a deity that embodies both raw power and untamed energy.
Okay, so maybe this bull-horse hybrid is a visual representation of Beelzebub's multifaceted nature.
Potentially.
The earthly and the transcendent combined.
Yes.
And that intense crowd.
Yeah.
You're thinking that speaks to the power this deity held over its followers.
It's a possibility.
Yeah.
The fervor, the almost aggressive energy of the crowd could be a manifestation of the power Beelzebub wielded.
Right.
Remember, in ancient times, religious devotion could be a powerful force.
Oh, yeah?
Capable of driving people to extraordinary acts.
Right. So we're not just talking about passive belief here.
No.
This was a deity who commanded respect, even fear.
Right.
And this pyramid, any significance to that, or is it just a dramatic backdrop?
Pyramids, especially flat-topped ones, are often associated with power and spiritual significance. In many cultures, they're seen as conduits between the earthly and the celestial realms.
Okay, so maybe this pyramid is more than just a stage for this religious spectacle.
Right.
It could be a key part of how Beelzebub interacts with his followers.
Yeah.
How he channels his power. This is getting really good. So what else went down at this pyramid gathering? Was it all just chanting and statue worshiping?
Well, Saverio mentions rituals involving food sacrifices.
Okay.
They offer fruits, vegetables, and even a goat skin.
A goat skin. That took a dark turn. What was the point of all that?
Sacrifices were a common practice in ancient religions.
Right.
Often seen as a way to appease the gods, to gain their favor, or to atone for sins.
Okay.
The burning of offerings, especially animal sacrifices, was often seen as a way to create a connection between the physical and spiritual realms.
So they're trying to bridge the gap.
Right.
Send a message to the divine through fire and, well, goat skins make sense in a macabre sort of way.
Exactly.
But the goat skin, that's pretty intense. Any theories on why something so visceral?
The blood, particularly in animal sacrifices, was often viewed as representing the life force itself.
Okay.
So by offering the goat skin, they might have been symbolically offering a life force to Beelzebub.
Right.
A way to fuel his power or appease his hunger, so to speak.
Okay, so this is starting to feel less like a history lesson and more like a horror movie.
Right.
We've got this powerful, potentially otherworldly entity.
Yeah.
A frenzied crowd, blood sacrifices, a pyramid that might be more than it seems. Where do we go from here?
Well, from here, things get even more intriguing. They start asking Saverio about a connection between Beelzebub and Yahweh, the god of the Israelites.
Oh, wow. So now we're bringing the big guns into the equation.
Yeah.
Yahweh versus Beelzebub. That sounds like the makings of an epic showdown.
It does, doesn't it? And according to Saverio, it's not just a rivalry on the earthly plane. He gets the impression that they're both like generals on a higher plane with different domains. But down here, their conflict spills over into war and chaos.
Wait, so you're telling me that the conflict between the Philistines and the Israelites might have been a proxy war for these powerful cosmic beings? That's next level stuff.
It's a thought-provoking idea, isn't it?
It is?
It takes the historical narrative and adds this whole other dimension, this cosmic backdrop of battling deities.
Okay, this is officially blowing my mind. I'm completely hooked. But before we spiral too far down this cosmic rabbit hole, maybe we should pause here. There's clearly a lot more to unpack, especially with this Yahweh-Beelzebub rivalry. You ready to keep digging?
Absolutely. We've only scratched the surface of this hypnotic investigation.
Right.
And I'm eager to see where it leads us.
Then buckle up, listeners. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back with more insights and analysis in the whole thing. Part 2 of our deep dive into the mysterious world of Beelzebub. Okay, we're back, and my head is still spinning from that last segment. Cosmic battles, blood sacrifices, bull-horse hybrids.
Yeah.
It's a lot to take in, but we've only covered half of the material right.
That's right. We've explored Saverio's hypnotic journey, But now we need to dive into the hypnotist's analysis.
Okay.
Kalajara Grafasi, the guy who conducted the session, has some interesting insights to offer.
Perfect. So how does he interpret all of this? Does he take Severio's visions literally, or does he have a more nuanced perspective?
He's actually very cautious about interpreting hypnotic information, too, literally.
Okay.
He talks about how this information, as it travels from the subconscious through the hypnotist and then to us, can get contaminated along the way.
Contaminated.
Yeah.
Like a game of telephone where the message gets distorted.
Exactly. He uses the analogy of two people trying to communicate underwater while speaking different languages.
Right.
There's bound to be some misinterpretations, some lost in translation moments.
That makes a lot of sense.
No.
So how does he filter out the noise, so to speak? How does he separate the wheat from the chaff?
He says the key is repetition and patterns.
Okay.
He's done thousands of these hypnosis sessions, and he looks for information that consistently pops up, regardless of the subject or the operator.
Fascinating. It's like he's crowdsourcing the subconscious, looking for those universal themes or archetypes that emerge across different individuals and experiences.
Precisely. He's not saying these recurring themes represent literal truth.
Right.
But they do point to something significant, some deeper layer of reality that we might not fully grasp.
Okay, I'm starting to see how his approach works.
Mm-hmm.
It's less about taking any single vision at face value and more about looking for those overarching patterns, those echoes across different subconscious journeys.
Exactly. And this is where his analysis of Severio's Beelzebub experience gets really interesting.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me, what does Grafasi make of Severio's encounter with this Lord of the Flies?
He's very careful to emphasize that one session isn't enough to draw any definitive conclusions.
Okay.
He sees this as just the first step in a much larger investigation.
So he's planning on hypnotizing more people and asking them about Beelzebub. That's kind of like building a composite sketch of a suspect, but for an ancient deity.
It's an interesting way to put it. He wants to gather more data, look for those recurring patterns, and build a more complete picture. In a way, he's treating this like a scientific experiment, using hypnosis as a tool to explore consciousness and access information that's not readily available through conventional means.
I'm completely on board with his approach.
Yeah.
More data, more patterns, a bigger picture that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But let's go back to Severio's session for a moment. There was that whole thing about Beelzebub having reptilian features.
Right, and remember when they asked Severio to describe the DNA of Beelzebub from an etheric perspective? He said Annunaki.
Whoa, hold on. The Anunnaki, like those ancient Mesopotamian deities, the ones some people believe were aliens who came to Earth and tinkered with human DNA.
The very same.
Oh, wow.
It's a fascinating connection, and it ties into those popular theories about ancient astronauts and extraterrestrial influence on human history.
Okay, so now we've got ancient gods, reptilian creatures, possible alien intervention. This is getting pretty wild.
It is, isn't it? But remember, we're dealing with symbolism and subjective experiences here.
All right.
It's up to us to interpret the information and decide what resonates with us.
Good point. But let's not forget the pyramid. Severio described it as some kind of advanced technology harnessing energy from the four elements and maybe even tapping into other dimensions.
This idea of pyramids as energy generators or conduits is a recurring theme in alternative archaeology and esoteric circles. There are theories about pyramids being used for healing, communication, and even time travel.
Whoa, time travel. Now that's a rabbit hole. I'm not sure I'm ready to go down.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to consider the possibility that these ancient structures were more than just tombs or monuments. What if they served a purpose that we're only now beginning to understand?
Okay, I'll bite. What if they were? What does that mean for us today?
Well, for one thing, it challenges our assumptions about the capabilities of ancient civilizations.
Yeah.
It suggests that they may have possessed knowledge and technologies that we've only recently rediscovered or perhaps haven't even discovered yet.
So we could learn something from them. Like how to build pyramids that can channel cosmic energy.
Perhaps. But more importantly, I think it encourages us to question our own limited perspective.
Right.
What if there's more to reality than what we can see and measure with our current scientific instruments?
That's a pretty big what if. But I have to admit, it's kind of exciting to think that there might be more to the universe than we know.
Exactly. And that's what I find so compelling about this whole hypnotic exploration.
Yeah.
It's not about finding definitive answers, but about opening our minds to new possibilities.
So it's less about what we know and more about what we don't know.
Precisely. It's about embracing the mystery and allowing ourselves to be curious about the unknown. Now, there's one element we haven't touched on yet.
Okay.
The hypnotist's perspective on the relationship between Yahweh and Beelzebub.
Oh, right. I'm dying to hear his take on this cosmic rivalry. Does he see it as a straightforward good versus evil battle, or is there something more nuanced going on?
He actually suggests that their rivalry might be more complex than it appears on the surface. Remember how Severio described Yahweh and Beelzebub as generals, with different domains playing out a cosmic game on Earth?
Yeah, like they were using humans as pawns in some kind of divine chess match?
Well, Grafasi speculates that this game might be part of a larger plan orchestrated by the Anunnaki.
Okay.
He wonders if they set up this conflict to further their own agenda, whatever that may be.
Hold on. So you're telling me that Yahweh and Baal-el-Zuba, these powerful cosmic beings, might just be puppets in a cosmic power play directed by the Anunnaki? That's kind of a mind-blowing and maybe slightly depressing thought.
It is a lot to process, but remember, this is all speculation based on hypnotic regression and esoteric interpretations.
Right.
There's no way to know for sure what the true nature of these beings is or what their motivations might be.
So we're back to the mystery again. But I have to say this is a much more compelling mystery than I ever imagined. I mean, who knew that ancient deities and alien overlords could be so intriguing?
It's a testament to the power of the human imagination, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're constantly seeking to understand our place in the universe, and these ancient myths and esoteric traditions offer tantalizing glimpses into realms beyond our everyday experience.
I'm hooked. What else does Grafasi have to say about this cosmic conspiracy theory? Does he offer any clues about what the Anunnaki's endgame might be?
He doesn't provide any concrete answers, but he does raise some thought-provoking questions. For example, he wonders if the Anunnaki deliberately fostered conflict between different groups of humans as a way to control them.
Divide and conquer. That's a classic tactic used by rulers throughout history.
Exactly. He also suggests that the Anunnaki might have manipulated human beliefs and religions to serve their own purposes.
So maybe all those stories about gods and goddesses, angels and demons weren't just made-up stories. What if they were based on real encounters with these extraterrestrial beings, twisted and spun to suit their agenda?
It's a fascinating possibility, isn't it? But it also raises some unsettling questions. If our beliefs and religions were influenced by alien beings, what does that mean for our understanding of spirituality and the nature of the divine?
Whoa, now that's a deep dive I'm not sure I'm prepared for. I'm all for exploring new ideas, but messing with my religious beliefs is a bit much.
I understand. It's important to approach these topics with respect and sensitivity, but it's also important to remember that our beliefs and understandings are constantly evolving. What we believe to be true today might be challenged or even overturned by new discoveries tomorrow.
You're right. I guess I'm just a little shaken by the idea that our whole spiritual history might be based on a lie, a manipulation orchestrated by these Anunnaki beings.
It's not necessarily a lie, but perhaps a different perspective, a different interpretation of events. Remember, history is often written by the victors. What if there's another side to the story, a perspective that's been suppressed or forgotten? Maybe the Anunnaki, if they even exist, weren't the benevolent beings some stories portray them to be.
Okay, that's a good point. So instead of thinking of it as a lie, maybe it's more like a puzzle with missing pieces. And through explorations like this hypnotic investigation, we might be able to find some of those missing pieces and get a clearer picture.
Exactly, and that's what makes this journey so exciting. We're constantly learning, evolving, and expanding our understanding of the universe and our place within it. And who knows, maybe the truth lies somewhere between blind faith and outright skepticism.
I like that. A balanced approach, a healthy dose of curiosity and a willingness to question everything. That seems like the best way to navigate this kind of uncharted territory.
Absolutely. And speaking of uncharted territory, we've still got more to uncover in this hypnotic deep dive. Grafasi's analysis goes even deeper, and there are some truly fascinating insights waiting to be explored.
Okay, then let's dive back in. I'm ready for more revelations, more mind-blowing theories, and more of those wait what moments that make this whole journey so compelling.
All right, then, let's continue our exploration in part 3, where we'll delve into the final layers of this hypnotic investigation and see what other secrets Beelzebub might be hiding.
Okay, we're back for the final part of our Beelzebub deep dive. And I gotta say, this has been one wild ride. Ancient deities, hypnotic visions, maybe alien overlords. I feel like I've stumbled into, like, the plot of a sci-fi epic.
Yeah. It's been a journey through some fascinating territory.
Exactly. And, while we've covered a lot of ground, I still feel like we're just kind of scratching the surface.
Right.
So what else can we glean from the hypnotist's analysis?
Well, one thing stood out to me was his emphasis on discernment when it comes to hypnotic information. He reminds us that not all hypnotic experiences are created equal.
Right. He talked about how information can get, like, contaminated or distorted as it travels from the subconscious.
Exactly. And he stresses that it's important to be discerning to critically evaluate the information we receive,
Yeah.
even if it comes from a seemingly mystical source like hypnosis.
So we shouldn't just blindly accept everything Severio said under hypnosis.
Precisely. It's about using our critical thinking skills,
Yeah.
looking for patterns,
Right.
considering alternative interpretations, and yes, even being skeptical at times.
Sure.
After all, the subconscious is a vast and mysterious realm.
Right.
And it's not always easy to decipher its messages.
That makes sense. It's like with any source of information.
Right.
Whether it's a news article,
Yeah.
a historical document, or even just like a friend telling us a story.
Yeah.
We need to be critical thinkers
Absolutely.
to weigh the evidence and to form our own conclusions.
Yeah. Blind faith, whether it's in ancient deities or hypnotic revelations, can be just as dangerous as blind skepticism.
Right.
The key is to find that balance, that middle ground where curiosity and critical thinking can coexist.
I like that. A balanced approach, a healthy dose of curiosity, but also that willingness to question everything,
Yeah.
to dig deeper and see what lies beneath the surface. So with that in mind, what other insights did Grafasi glean from Severio's hypnotic journey? What else can we learn about Beelzebub and his role in this cosmic drama?
Well, Grafasi points out that the Lord of the Flies title might not be as literal as we assume.
Okay.
Remember, Severio described the fly as a symbol?
Yeah.
A banner, not the being itself?
Right, more like a family crest or an emblem representing something larger.
Exactly. And if we connect this to the idea of Beelzebub as a gatekeeper, perhaps the fly represents not the being itself, but the pathway to the knowledge or power he controls.
Ooh, that's an interesting twist.
Yeah.
So instead of a deity with buzzing wings and a taste for decay,
Right.
we might be dealing with something far more subtle, far more insidious.
Yes.
A force that operates behind the scenes, whispering secrets and offering glimpses of forbidden knowledge.
It's a compelling possibility, isn't it?
It is.
And it ties into the idea that true power often operates not through brute force, but through influence, through subtle manipulation, through the control of information.
It's like that saying, the pen is mightier than the sword.
Right.
Maybe in this case, the fly is mightier than whatever weapon an ancient deity might wield.
Precisely. And remember that image of the pyramid, the potential energy conduit?
Yeah.
Perhaps that's part of Beelzebub's power, the ability to channel energy, to manipulate those subtle forces that shape reality. And maybe the fly represents the access point, the entryway into that network of power.
Okay, now my mind is really going into overdrive. We've gone from a literal Lord of the Flies to a subtle puppet master, pulling strings from behind the scenes and using symbols like the fly to lure unsuspecting souls into his web. This is getting deep.
It is, isn't it? And it reminds us that symbolism is a powerful tool, one that can be used for both good and ill.
Right.
In this case, maybe the fly is a warning.
Okay.
A reminder to be discerning, to question the sources of information.
Right.
And to be wary of those who offer easy answers or promises of forbidden knowledge.
That's a potent message.
Yeah.
One that resonates deeply, especially in today's world of information overload and competing narratives.
Right.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the mysterious realm of Beelzebub, what's the biggest takeaway? What's the one thing we should carry with us as we navigate our own lives?
I think the most important lesson is to embrace the unknown.
Okay.
To be curious, but also to be critical. Don't be afraid to question everything, to dig deeper, to challenge assumptions, and to seek out multiple perspectives.
Well said. We may never fully understand the mysteries of Beelzebub, the Anunnaki, or any of the other fascinating topics we've explored today. But the journey itself, the act of questioning, exploring, and pondering, that's where the real value lies.
Exactly. The search for understanding is a lifelong pursuit, and it's through that pursuit that we grow, evolve, and expand our consciousness.
Beautifully put. So to all our listeners out there, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep that critical thinking cap firmly in place. And if you ever find yourself face to face with a giant fly, well, maybe take a moment to ponder its symbolism before swatting it away.
Wise words. It's been a pleasure diving deep with you and our listeners today. Until next time, stay curious.
Thanks for joining us on this wild ride through the world of Beelzebub. We'll see you next time for another deep dive into the mysteries of the universe.